So you want to take your training a bit more seriously, and you've got a head unit or bike computer, and you've got speed and distance, maybe a few other stats, cadence, which is a really good one, your pedal rate, and heart rate, which is a really important one. But you want to step it up that little bit more. You want to get your power output. You want to get a power meter so you can have real-time data of your power output. Now, crank-based power meters have been around for quite some time. Remember SRM? I remember when they first came out, they had the rectangular head units, and we all longed after having an SRM power meter on our bikes, but they were prohibitively expensive. But since then, over time, they've come cheaper, slowly. And then companies like Magene started entering the power meter market, and they came out with the crank-based power meter, and I got hold of one 2 years ago and put it on my bike, and it's still going very, very well. Nice, easy to put on, and quite accurate. However, pedal-based power meters started coming onto the market about the last 4 to 5 years, haven't they? However, they've also been expensive, just like the crank-based power meters. And now Magene have done it again. They brought out a pedal-based power meter system. It's as good as all the others on the market in waterproofing and in accuracy. But not only that, it's cheaper than all the others on the market. So let's have a good look at these. Now, just before we get into these Magene pedals, Asiomas have just dropped their new RS2 Pro pedals. So we'll be looking mostly at the Duo pedals, their older version, but also we'll have a look at these new ones as well toward the end of the video. But don't skip toward the end because it's important information, because there's one thing that these pedals have over all the rest, and it's important to know. Also, we'll have a look at how they service these pedals as well. So let's get into it. Now we're going to compare these Magene power pedals to the major ones on the market. It's Look, Garmin, Wahoo and Asiomas. All their dual-sided versions, because these Magene ones are also dual-sided. Just quickly, the two main advantages of having the pedal-based power meter over the crank-based is the crank-based ones require you to have special tools to put it on your cranks. You've got to take your cranks out, put the power meter on, and then put your chain rings on that, etc., whatever they need to require to put on that bike. And then you can't transfer it to another bike. Well, you can, but it's a lot of fuss. Whereas the pedals are easy to install, and you can change it from bike to bike as you go. All you need is your 8mm Allen key. Right, let's open up the box and have a look at these pedals. So what's included in the box is, first of all, not your cleats, because they should already be on your shoes. So order the pedals according to the cleats that you have on your shoes. So in my case, I've got the Look Kios, and you may have Shimano SPD SL. So order the pedals according to the cleats that are already on your shoes. Secondly, you get the charger cables in the box, but no actual charger. But that's okay, because you can use any 5-volt charger, just as usual with most products these days. So you just use your phone charger or a 5-volt wall plug. Secondly, you get two stainless steel washers, which are 1mm thick each, and they're used for spacing the pedal a little bit out from your crank if your crank arm has a little recess in it. I'll just show you an inset on the picture there. So if you've got that recess, then you'll need to use the 1mm spacer. And you just put these spacers on the pedal the correct way around, the writing outwards. This will prevent the body or the electronic casing from coming too close to your crank or touching your crank. You don't want that. The other thing is, if you don't have that little recess in your crank, you can use these washers to space your Q factor out 1mm each side. You don't have to use them, of course. As long as that body of this pedal is not touching your crank arm, that's the main thing. The battery in the pedal is not a button or coin battery, it's a lithium ion battery, and it's built into the pedal and sealed in the pedal in the factory. So this allows better waterproofing and dust proofing if it's all inbuilt in the factory. IPX7 waterproof too. The charging time for the battery is from 0 to full charge, 3 hours, or from low charge, which a little indicator will tell you it's low charge, to full charge is only 2.5 hours. And for each charge, you get 120 hours of use. Now, considering the Asiomas, Look and Wahoo pedals, you get 50 to 60 hours use, and Garmin's 120, then these pedals with the 120 hours are definitely on the upper usage. The stack height of pedals, you find the Asiomas are 11, Garmin's are 12, Looks are 10.8, Wahoo's are 13, and these Magenes are 11, both with the Look Clio kit and the Shimano SPD SL. And just a matter of interest too, the lowest stack height is with the SRM power pedal at 9.75. The Q factor, of course, depending on if you're going to use the 1mm washers, you can use that with any pedals too. So Asiomas 54, their Garmin's are 53, as with the Looks 53, Wahoo's 55, the SRMs are 53, and these Magenes 55, or if you use the washers, then you're going out to 57. The weights of these pedals, you're looking at Asiomas 276, Garmin's 320, Looks 260, Wahoo's 276, the SRM's 264, and these Magenes 314. But also, don't forget your cleats. You've got to put your cleats in the weight as well. First note that the Magene, the Favero and the SRM pedals are compatible with both the Shimano SPD SL cleats and the Look Kios, and their weights are 72 grams and 68 grams respectively. So let's go from the heaviest set to the lightest. Wahoo is the heaviest, 418 grams with their own cleats. Secondly is the Garmin's, 396 grams. Third comes the Magenes with 382 with the Kio cleats and 390 with the Shimano SPDs. Then we've got the Favero Duos, 367 with the Kios and 374 with the Shimano cleats. And then it's the SRM pedal set, 336 with the Shimano cleats and 332 with the Look Kios. And the lightest of all, of course, Look pedals, 328 grams with their own cleats. The strike plate, that's that silver bit there. If you compare them to the Asiomas, here's an Asioma one there. Just see if I can give you a close-up. Very, very similar as well. And it's made of stainless steel, so it's not going to rust. The body of the pedals is composite carbon fibre, the axle is stainless steel, and the tool head there to put your pedals onto your crankset is with an 8mm Allen key. The two springs underneath the pedal here, which give you your tension when you clip in, are made of stainless steel, and the end of the springs rest on a brass head which is attached to the little adjusting grub screw, which is a 3mm Allen key. Now, if aerodynamics are important to you on your pedals, then the most aerodynamic power pedal out on the market at the moment would probably be the Look one. Now, this is not a Look power pedal, but it's the same thing. It has the tension plate underneath, which acts like a cover underneath. So it's nice and smooth, as you can see here. Whereas most power pedals on the market, like this Asioma and the Magene one here, they just are open. There's no cover on the bottom there. Also, secondly, consider that the Look pedal has no bulbous electronic unit on it as well. So it's a thin axle. All the electronics are inbuilt with the axle into the body. Whereas if you consider the Asioma and the Magene one here, they have this bulbous electronics body here. So if you times that by 2, one pedal on each side, then you've got slightly less aerodynamics as well. In fact, the Magene one is slightly smaller than the Asioma one. So if you want to nitpick, maybe the Magene pedals may be even a little bit more aerodynamic than the Asiomas. I'm not 100% sure on that one. Now, what everybody likes to talk about is the accuracy of your power meters. And I'll just tell you, plus or minus 1%. What does that actually mean for you? However, most of us are not pro racers who have a coach who uses our personal data for our training and racing regimes. That's 99.9% of us are not in that category. So you'll be actually comparing your data or your power results to yourself. So what is more important is not so much the accuracy, but the consistency of the power meter. The other thing I've seen quite often is you get two riders riding next to each other. They might be riding up a hill or pushing some watts, and they're saying, what power are you pushing? Oh, well, blah, 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 blah. Well, really, it comes down to, is that rider the same weight as you? Is that rider's bike the same weight as you? Is that rider's aerodynamics the same? There's so many other factors which will differ one rider from the other. So what really does matter is having consistency of a power meter so you can compare your result to your result on different rides. So comparing the accuracy of the power pedals on the market, they're pretty much across the board, plus or minus 1%, including the Magene pedals. The power range of these pedals is 0 to 2,500 watts. Feel free to try and beat 2,500 watts. The cadence is 20 to 240 RPM. You think you're a spinner, try and spin over 240 RPM. The pedals also have temperature compensation, and they will operate between -20 and +50 degrees Celsius. The bearings are nice and smooth because, well, they're new pedals. Who knows what they're going to be like after a couple of thousand kilometres at least ridden in them? Well, I'll let you know after I've ridden a couple of thousand kilometres. That might take a while. So being brand new pedals, they do feel really nice. Serviceability, soft end cap here, it's a little silicone cap. You can get access, that comes off, and you can get access inside to clean and re-grease your bearing. It's quite easy to service these pedals with a few basic tools. Remove the silicone end plug with a flathead screwdriver. That's a T20 Torx head in there, so 8mm on the crank side and the T20 in that little bolt head there. It's a reverse thread, so undo the bolt the way you usually tighten the bolt up. Once the bolt's loose, it'll just fall out. Hold the body with one hand and pull on the axle quite hard and the axle will come out. The fitting is quite a close tolerance and the grease used on that axle is quite thick. This cone here is made of hardened steel and rests on the inner race of the steel bearing. Remove the silicone seal. If you need to remove the bearing, use some straight-nosed circlip pliers and take that circlip out and you have access to the bearing. On the opposite side of the pedal is an aluminium screw-in sleeve, and using the 8mm Allen key, remove it. It's a normal right-hand thread. It's a very small bearing on this side, however you can still get access to remove the seal to clean it and re-grease it, or if you've got a bearing puller tool you can pull the bearing out and replace it. So the axle has a small end which fits into that small bearing and a larger cone end which fits into the larger bearing on the inside there. And putting it all back together is just the reverse of what you've done. So the end sleeve on first, and on the other side put that silicone seal back in and make sure it's central, seat it properly in there, and simply push the axle back in. Put back the reverse thread screw and do it up with the T20 Torx. And finally tighten it with the 8mm Allen key on the other side to about 8 to 10 Newton meters. And finally put that silicone end cap back on. These pedals are definitely serviceable. Okay, let's put these Magene pedals on a bike. First is to remove the old pedals. Remember the left pedal has a reverse thread. Give the crank threads a bit of a clean. Apply new grease to the crank and the pedal threads. If you need to use the 1mm spacer washers, put them on. Start the pedal thread, lightly holding onto the electronics capsule, and then screw in the rest of the way with the 8mm Allen key. Check that there's a gap between the electronics capsule and the crank arm, both left and right pedals. Then finally tighten the pedals. You might find this easier with the bike upside down. And it's 30 to 40 Newton meters of torque. Or if you have an experienced feel for it, simply tighten with the 8mm Allen key. Then click in your shoe and check that there's no impingement to the electronics capsule or the crank arm with your shoe. There should be plenty of room, like this. The charging cable has two semicircle plugs. The two outer square plates are magnets, which help align and hold the plug in place on the electronics capsule of the pedals. The other end of the cable, the USB-A end, goes into your charger. Green light flashing means it's charging, and once the green light stays on for 5 seconds and then turns off permanently, that means it's fully charged. Once the pedals have been charged, you'll see blue lights on both pedals. This means the left pedal is searching for the right pedal. To connect everything together, use your device, probably your mobile phone. Go to your App Store and download Magene Utility. If you've already got a Magene device, then you just need to log in, otherwise you can sign up. Don't forget to turn your Bluetooth on and your device will search for the pedals. Here you can see I've got two power meters, the crank-based power meter and the new pedals. Of course, if you've only got the pedals, then you'll just see the pedals come up. Touch the pedals display square there and it'll come to this screen. And the first thing you probably want to do is automatically calibrate the pedals. So that switch there, calibration, yes. And the last thing, it might prompt you to do a firmware upgrade, so do that and then you should be ready to go. Turn on your head unit, which will connect to the app on your phone. Select sensors, scan for sensors and it will come up with the Magene power pedals. Pair yes. And this one asks to select the size of tyre, so I'm using 30C. Here you can see I've got two power meters. One's a really old one and one is the crank-based one I've got at the moment. So select the old sensors and click Forget Sensor. And then you'll just have the pedals. So referring back to the new pedal launch of the Asiomas Pro RS2s, first of all the price. It's not as cheap as these Magenes. On the Magene website they're $499 US, but prices vary according to the region you live in. In Australia they're $899 or $585 US, still cheaper than the Asiomas. Remember, these are dual-sided. The Pro RS2s, you need to go for the dual-sided version of the Asiomas. And the other point, the new Asiomas Pro RS2s only come with Shimano SPD cleat compatibility. So you must have on your shoe the Shimano cleats, or they come with cleats anyhow, but they're only Shimano compatible. So if you're like me, you've got look system and you've got 4 pair of shoes and 5 bikes, something like that, then it means if you want to get those pedals, you're going to have at least 1 pair of shoes for that bike to go Shimano. And you cannot fit the look system into these new Pro RS2s. They may change in the future, they may come out with a look compatible, I'm not sure, but at the moment it's only SPD-SL. Whereas your Magenes, you've got the choice. You can either use the S715K, meaning Keo, or the SL, meaning the Shimano compatible ones. Let's have a look at a final comparison of all these pedals on a chart, and I've also added the SRM power pedals. Standing up the top, the Asiomas Faveros have a whole 6 hours recharging time. However, the good thing going for them is they have a low stack height. The Garmin's don't have an inbuilt battery, you have to change the button battery. However, the good thing is they have a 120 hour usage for each battery. The looks have no clip-in tension adjustment because they have that carbon blade there. However, they are the lightest power pedal set out there. The Wahoos, well, the pedals may be light, the cleats are heavy. There's no tension adjustment on the Wahoos. However, the plus with the Wahoos, they have a quick charge time of only 1.5 hours. The SRMs, you only get 30 hours of usage per charge, and they're a very expensive pedal set. However, they do have one thing going for them, they have a low stack height. Over to the Magenes. I haven't got any negatives here going by this chart. However, maybe in time, like I said, I might find something out with them when I'm riding them. Anyway, for the meantime, they're the cheapest pedal out of all of these, and they still have that long 120 hour usage per charge. And finally, the new kit on the block, the Favero Pro RS2s. Only available, unfortunately, for Shimano SPD SL cleats. Hopefully they might bring out the look compatibility later on. Slight improvement in battery life than their older brother, the Duo version, but still only half of what Garmin and Magene offer. Low stack height, that's quite good, and considering the electronics are contained within the axle, the price is very fair. One thing's for sure about cold weather is a runny nose. Oh, how are these pedals going? I've done 5 rides, only 5. So 2 of them were in quite wet conditions, rainy, and the other 2 were wet roads but not rainy. And today, the only ride I just did was dry road and dry conditions, but still cold, hence all rugged up. First thing to note about these pedals is it's a double-sided power meter, so 2-legged. There's no shortcuts taken, it's a true double-sided power meter. And being pedal-based, any pedal-based power meter, you can swap the pedals to another bike if you want to. So if I want to ride my gravel bike and record my power, I can swap the pedals over. Not that you want to do it all the time as a regular thing, but if you want to, you can. Whereas if it's a crank-based, much harder to change over. One thing I do like about the Magene pedals is their 120 hours of usage per charge. So you don't have to worry about fussing around going, oh, are my pedals charged or not? Will I only get halfway through the ride and then the power readings will stop? No, you get a long way. You get a lot of rides out of 120 hours. The other thing I like is the price is very, very low, but the quality is not skimped out on. So Magene, being a quality Chinese company, have made a good quality product here for a very low price. They click in well as well. Let's see if I can get the shoe out once I've clicked it in. There you go. They click in really, really positively, and you still get that arc movement. So I've got the grey cleat, so it's a bit of an arc, and then nice strong positive click in and out of the cleats. I just put on the screen the Strava ride I did today. It's only an 80k ride. However, I'm on the free Strava, so I don't get all the stats. I'm not really a stats nerd. So I've got power, cadence, and left-right balance, and a few other things that you don't get on Strava, but I've got them on my computer here. This is a trim computer, quite a nice little computer, but Magene also make a computer that's completely compatible with these. So you probably end up having more stats on your computer and in your app than you will have on your Strava account. However, if you pay for your Strava account, that's different again. So I'm not really a stats nerd, as I said. However, if you're into that sort of thing, you can bring up all your charts and analyze them as you go along. You can go anywhere along the route and you can see any of your stats that you want to see. There are two stats: power, phase, and riding position. They're new ones, and they may come with an update on your head unit. I know Garmin have it, and Magene have got it with their new update as well. So you can get these through those pedals as well. So power, phase, and rider position. I'm not sure exactly what they mean. Again, I'm not a stats nerd, but if you're into that sort of thing, it might be really good for you to look up. For indoor training, like pretty much all power meters, you can connect these Magenes to your smart trainer. That way you can have the stats come up on your telly in front of you as well when you're riding. And also you can connect to, these pedals go to smartwatch. So if you've got a smartwatch and it accepts sensors, then you can accept these sensors and you can have your power on your watch. As for the accuracy of these pedals, I'm not going to put multiple computers on my handlebars and go comparing graphs and all that sort of thing. I'll leave that to someone else on YouTube who are into the stats and nerdy sort of things. But you can be pretty sure that the 1% tolerance accuracy is going to be 1%. So I'll keep riding his pedals, and I think I'm going to take this other Magene crank-based power meter off and put my ordinary Shimano Ultegra cranks back on, but I'll keep using these Magene power pedals. So nice product, Magene, keep up the good work, and everybody else, keep riding your bike. See you soon.
Did you get some footage?
It's 5:45 in the morning. Sun's only just coming up, and we've got a sea of bike riders here. This is the 2025 Tour Down Under Epic Ride. You can't see where the bike riders end. We're all here with our flashing lights till the sun comes up. They've done 108 so far. Grab some lolly snakes. What do they call it? Gummy bears, that'll do, but they're actually snakes in Australia. We have snakes. Of course, in Australia, snakes. And SIS bar. That's my other one. That one. Anyway. Oh. If you stay off your bike too long, you don't want to get back on again.